Those who live near it have learned to coexist with mystery. They accept that some questions don't have answers, that some boundaries shouldn't be crossed, that our understanding of reality is far more limited than we'd like to believe. Rebecca Foster has operated a small diner on Highway 283 for 30 years. It's the last stop before the portal zone on the southern approach. She's served thousands of travelers heading into the anomaly. Some are researchers with equipment worth millions. Others are seekers with nothing but faith. Many never return. Those who do often can't pay their bills with regular money. They offer coins from countries that don't exist, bills with faces of presidents who were never elected, credit cards from banks that won't be founded for decades. She's learned to accept these payments. Somehow, they always convert to real money eventually. The impossible coins turn into quarters overnight. The strange bills become 20s in the register. She's stopped questioning it. The portal zone has its own economy, its own rules. Fighting them only brings trouble. Her diner has become a gathering place for those touched by the portal. They share stories over coffee that never gets cold and pie that never runs out. Time moves strangely here, so close to the zone. Customers sometimes age years during a meal. Others grow younger. Some fade in and out of existence, solid one moment, translucent the next. Rebecca serves them all. She's learned that discrimination based on reality status is bad for business. The stories they tell would fill libraries. A physicist who met himself from 6 different timelines, all working on the same equation. A farmer whose corn grows backward from harvest to seed. A priest who holds services for congregations that exist in parallel worlds. A child who plays with friends that only she can see, until they suddenly become visible to everyone. Each story adds another layer to the mystery. Tomorrow will bring new incidents, new disappearances, new evidence that the world is stranger than we imagine. The portal will continue its ancient rhythm, breathing in and out through dimensions we can't perceive. And somewhere along the Oklahoma-Texas border, between the towns of Beaver and Canadian, the hungry ground waits for its next visitor. The latest reports are the most disturbing yet. Entire sections of highway now exist in multiple states simultaneously. Drivers enter on Highway 270 in Oklahoma and exit on roads that don't appear on any map. Some emerge in Texas, others in New Mexico. A few claim they drove through states that don't exist in our United States. States with different names, different borders, different histories. Emergency services have adapted to these new challenges. Ambulance crews carry equipment to handle temporal injuries. People aging or growing younger rapidly. Patients existing in multiple conditions at once. Paramedic Jose Rivera describes treating a man who was simultaneously dying and perfectly healthy. Both states were real. Both required treatment. They saved one version while the other passed away. The surviving version remembers dying. Local hospitals have created special wards for portal-related injuries. These aren't physical wounds, but tears in personal reality. Patients who've lost pieces of their timeline. People missing memories that haven't happened yet. Individuals who exist as probabilities rather than certainties. Dr. Amanda Thompson, who runs the ward, says traditional medicine is useless. They've had to develop new treatments based on quantum theory and indigenous healing practices. The economic implications grow more serious each month. Banks struggle with accounts that gain or lose money without transactions. The First National Bank of Beaver reported that several accounts have started showing balances from the future. Customers can see deposits they'll make years from now. Some have tried to withdraw this future money. It works, but the bills age to dust within hours of leaving the bank. Insurance companies have stopped covering properties near the portal entirely. After paying out claims for houses that aged 50 years overnight, cars that existed in multiple locations, and livestock that vanished into thin air, they've declared the zone uninsurable. This has devastated property values and made it impossible for many families to sell and leave. Agriculture faces unique challenges. Crops near the portal grow in impossible ways: wheat that harvests itself, corn that grows in perfect mathematical patterns, cattle that produce milk from cows that haven't been born yet. Some ranchers have learned to profit from these anomalies. Others have lost everything when their entire herd walked into the zone and never returned. The Postal Service still delivers to addresses near the portal, though mail often arrives before it's sent. Letters postmarked "next week." Packages that age or grow younger in transit. Postman David Kim has delivered mail to houses that exist only sometimes. He's learned to leave packages at specific coordinates even when no building is visible. The structures usually appear eventually. Schools struggle with attendance when students exist in multiple timelines. Teachers take role for children who are simultaneously present and absent. Homework gets turned in before it's assigned. Test scores arrive from futures where different questions were asked. Principal Margaret Nelson says education continues because it must. Children need structure, even when reality doesn't provide it. Churches near the portal report unprecedented spiritual experiences. Congregations see visions during services. Prayers are answered before they're spoken. Reverend Michael Patterson says his sermons sometimes write themselves, appearing in his notes fully formed. He's given eulogies for people who attend their own funerals. He's performed marriages between people and their doubles from parallel worlds. Faith, he says, is the only constant when physics fails. Scientists worldwide have proposed theories to explain the portal. Some believe it's a natural wormhole stabilized by unique geological conditions. Others suggest it's the result of an ancient meteor impact that fractured space-time. A few propose it's artificial, created by an advanced civilization for purposes we can't understand. Dr. Williams' team has found evidence supporting multiple theories simultaneously. Core samples show isotopes that shouldn't exist on Earth. Gravitational readings indicate mass that isn't there. Temporal measurements suggest the portal has existed since before the Earth formed. It might be older than our universe. It might be from another universe entirely. The indigenous explanation gains credibility with each discovery. The Kiowa and Comanche knew to avoid this place. Their oral histories describe it as a wound that won't heal, a place where the spirit world bleeds into the physical. They say it's been here since the first people walked the earth. It will be here when the last people are gone. Elder Joseph Crow Feather shares knowledge passed down through 30 generations. The portal isn't malevolent, he explains. It simply exists outside our understanding of good and evil. It's like arguing with gravity or debating with time. The portal operates by laws older than morality. His ancestors learned to respect it, not understand it. They knew that some knowledge is too dangerous for human minds. Recent expeditions have pushed deeper into the zone than ever before. Using quantum-stabilized equipment and protective suits based on theoretical physics, researchers have reached the portal's heart. What they found challenges everything we believe about reality. At the center is an area where all times exist simultaneously. Past, present, and future occur in the same space. Researchers can watch the land's entire history unfold at once. Dinosaurs graze while oil derricks pump. Native Americans hunt while astronauts explore. The Civil War rages while flying cars pass overhead. It's not a vision or hallucination. It's all equally real. Dr. Jennifer Park, who led the expedition, describes the experience as overwhelming. Human minds aren't equipped to process all of time at once. Several team members suffered psychological breaks. They returned speaking in temporal fragments, their sentences containing words from different centuries. 2 researchers haven't fully returned. Parts of them remain in other times, visible sometimes as ghosts or echoes. The expedition brought back samples that shouldn't exist: water that flows upward, rocks that age backward, soil that exists in quantum superposition, simultaneously fertile and barren. These samples are kept in specially designed containers that prevent them from affecting normal matter. Even so, their presence distorts reality around them. What does this mean for humanity's future? If the portal continues expanding, more populated areas will be affected. Cities might find themselves existing in multiple times. Technology could fail as physics becomes unreliable. Society would need to adapt to a world where cause doesn't always precede effect. Some scientists see opportunity in the chaos. If we could understand and control the portal, we might unlock time travel. We could prevent disasters by changing the past. We could explore futures and choose the best timeline. The portal might be humanity's next evolutionary leap. Others see only danger. They argue that the portal is a cancer in reality that will eventually consume everything. They propose drastic measures: nuclear strikes to cauterize the wound, quantum bombs to seal the dimensional rift, anything to stop the spread before it's too late. The military takes both views seriously. Leaked documents describe contingency plans for both scenarios, projects to weaponize the portal's effects, protocols for evacuating entire states if the expansion accelerates, training programs for soldiers to fight in environments where physics is optional. They're preparing for war against reality itself. Meanwhile, life continues near the portal. People wake up, sometimes in the right timeline, sometimes not. They go to work, accepting that their jobs might not exist tomorrow, or might have never existed at all. They raise children who see the world in ways they can't understand. They live with mystery as a neighbor, strangeness as a friend. The portal has become part of their identity. They're not just Oklahomans or Texans, they're portal people, changed by proximity to the impossible, marked by exposure to other realities. They share a bond that outsiders can't understand. They've seen behind the curtain of existence. They know that reality is far more fragile and flexible than most people believe. As night falls over the prairie, the portal zone glows with light that doesn't follow physics, colors that don't exist in our spectrum, shadows that fall upward, stars that shine during daylight. The boundary between possible and impossible blurs until they become meaningless words. Somewhere in that shimmering uncertainty, people are vanishing and appearing. Time is flowing backward and forward and sideways. Space is folding and unfolding in patterns that would drive mathematicians mad. The portal breathes, and reality ripples with each breath. Scientists continue their measurements, though the numbers increasingly make no sense. The military maintains its watch, though what they're watching for remains classified. Locals go about their lives, adapting to each new impossibility with prairie stubbornness. And the portal continues its ancient purpose, whatever that might be. Perhaps we'll never understand it. Perhaps we're not meant to. Perhaps the portal exists to remind us that the universe is stranger than we can imagine, that our scientific models are just approximations. That mystery is woven into the fabric of existence itself. Or perhaps understanding is coming. Perhaps the children born near the portal, with their enhanced perception and temporal awareness, will unlock its secrets. Perhaps they're the first of a new kind of human, one adapted to live in a reality where time and space are suggestions rather than laws. The only certainty is uncertainty. The only constant is change. And somewhere along the border between Oklahoma and Texas, between the possible and impossible, between what was and what will be, the Shaman's portal continues its eternal dance with reality. What do you make of these accounts? Have you experienced a place where reality seems thin or broken? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And if you found these tales from the edge of the possible intriguing, consider subscribing for more journeys into the unexplained corners of our world, Oklahoma's Shaman's portal. The compass needle wouldn't stop spinning. The surveyor watched it rotate faster and faster until the glass face cracked from the vibration. He looked up from his equipment to find his entire crew standing frozen in place. 6 men, all motionless, their eyes fixed on something above them that he couldn't see. For 3 minutes, they remained like statues. Then, as suddenly as it began, the spell broke. The men gasped for air and stumbled, having no memory of what just happened. When they checked their instruments, Every single device showed they were somehow 11 miles from where they'd started. The land between those points? It didn't exist on any map. This happened in 1934 along the Oklahoma-Texas border, in a region locals have long called the Shaman's Portal. While the Bermuda Triangle swallows ships and planes over water, this landlocked anomaly in America's heartland has its own appetite for the impossible. Time moves differently here. People vanish without explanation. Reality itself seems to bend and break in ways that science cannot explain. The affected area covers roughly 8,000 square miles of prairie, mesas, and canyon lands. It stretches between the towns of Beaver, Oklahoma, and Canadian Texas. Most of it looks like typical Great Plains landscape. Rolling hills covered in grass, red dirt roads cutting through endless fields. But appearances deceive. This land holds secrets that predate human memory. The Kiowa people called it the place where the earth breathes. The Comanche had another name that translates to the hungry ground. Archaeological evidence shows that Native American tribes deliberately avoided this region for thousands of years. They would add hundreds of miles to their journeys rather than pass through. Stone markers found along ancient trails include warning symbols that appear nowhere else in North America. These peoples knew something that we're only beginning to understand. The first recorded encounter by European settlers dates to 1541. Francisco Vasquez de Coronado's expedition through the Southwest documented strange occurrences in what's now the Oklahoma Panhandle. His men reported seeing cities of gold floating in the air that vanished when approached. Horses refused to enter certain valleys. Compasses pointed in different directions depending on who held them. Coronado himself wrote about losing an entire day. His expedition made camp, slept through the night, and woke to find the sun in the same position as when they'd stopped. For the next 3 centuries, Spanish, French, and American explorers reported similar experiences. Maps from this period show conflicting geography. Mountains appear and disappear between surveys. Rivers flow in impossible directions. Lakes exist on one map, but not another. Cartographers blamed these inconsistencies on poor surveying techniques. Modern satellite imaging has revealed a different truth. The landscape actually does change. The name Shaman's Portal emerged in the 1890s when homesteaders began settling the region in larger numbers. A newspaper in Guymon, Oklahoma, coined the term after interviewing a Kiowa elder. He described the area as a doorway used by ancient shamans to travel between worlds. Whether metaphor or literal truth, the name stuck. Between 1889 and 1907, the land rush brought thousands of settlers to Oklahoma Territory. Many chose to settle near the portal zone, drawn by cheap land and fertile soil. They soon discovered why the previous inhabitants had avoided the area. Entire families vanished from their homesteads. Cattle disappeared from locked barns. Crops grew in impossible patterns, with corn stalks spiraling into perfect mathematical formations that no wind could create. The Laverne Chronicle, a local newspaper still in operation today, documented over 200 unexplained incidents between 1890 and 1910. These aren't folklore or tall tales. These are legal documents, police reports, and sworn testimonies from multiple witnesses. The reports describe floating lights, time distortions, and encounters with things that shouldn't exist. One of the most disturbing cases involved the Hensley family in 1897. James Hensley, his wife Mary, and their 4 children lived on a ranch near what's now Elmwood, Oklahoma. On a clear September morning, neighbors saw the entire Hensley house rise 30 feet into the air. It hovered there for several minutes, rotating slowly, then settled back onto its foundation. When neighbors investigated, they found the family inside, unconscious but unharmed. The Hensleys had no memory of the event, but every clock in their house had stopped at different times, and their calendar showed a date 3 weeks in the future. The US military took notice of the region during World War I. Army pilots training at Post Field in Oklahoma reported instrument failures when flying over certain areas. Compasses spun wildly. Altimeters showed impossible readings. Radio communications filled with voices speaking languages that linguists couldn't identify. Some pilots reported seeing other aircraft that didn't appear on any flight logs. These phantom planes flew in formations and performed maneuvers that defied the laws of physics. Captain Richard Dalton filed a report in 1918 that remains classified. However, portions leaked to researchers in the 1970s. Dalton described flying through what he called a temporal fold. His plane entered a cloud bank that shouldn't have been there. Inside the cloud, he saw the ground below, but it looked different. Modern roads were gone, buildings disappeared. He saw Native American settlements that hadn't existed for decades. When he emerged from the cloud, his fuel gauge showed he'd been flying for 6 hours. Ground observers insisted he'd been gone for only 12 minutes. The 1920s brought the oil boom to Oklahoma. Drilling companies moved into the portal zone, attracted by geological surveys, suggesting massive petroleum deposits. What they found instead defied explanation. Drill teams reported hitting empty voids, thousands of feet underground. Not caves or natural caverns, but smooth-walled chambers that looked artificially constructed. Some chambers contained air that was breathable, but had a different composition than surface atmosphere. Others were filled with water that tested as being millions of years older than the rock surrounding it. Standard Oil Company abandoned 3 drilling sites in 1924 after workers refused to return. The men described hearing voices from deep underground, not echoes or natural sounds, but conversations in English. The voices discussed events that hadn't happened yet. Stock market numbers for the following week. Baseball scores for games not yet played. Weather patterns that would arrive days later. Every prediction proved accurate. The Great Depression brought a different kind of attention to the portal. Desperate families fleeing the Dust Bowl sometimes vanished while crossing through the region. Unlike typical missing persons cases, these disappearances left strange evidence. Abandoned vehicles would be found with engines still running, sometimes for days, never running out of fuel. Personal belongings aged decades overnight. Photographs found in abandoned camps showed people who didn't exist in places that couldn't be located. A federal investigation in 1936 sent 6 researchers from the U.S. Geological Survey to study the anomalies. Their report was immediately classified. Dr. Harold Morrison, the team leader, resigned shortly after returning. In a private letter discovered after his death, he wrote, "There are places where our reality is thin, where other worlds press against ours. The portal is such a place. We are not equipped to understand it. We are not meant to understand it." World War II intensified military interest in the region. The Army Air Forces established training bases throughout Oklahoma. Classified documents released in 2001 revealed Project Rainbow, an attempt to use the portal's anomalies for strategic advantage. The military believed that understanding the time distortions could lead to advanced warning systems or even time travel technology. The project ended abruptly in 1943. 13 airmen disappeared during a training exercise over the portal zone. Their B-17 bomber was observed entering what witnesses described as a hole in the sky. The aircraft flew into empty air and vanished. No wreckage was ever found. The crew was never recovered. Stranger still, radio operators reported receiving distress calls from the missing plane for months afterward. The calls came from different locations each time, sometimes from places thousands of miles away. The post-war years brought new highways through the region. Route 66 passed just south of the main anomaly zone. Travelers reported strange experiences that became part of American road trip folklore. Cars that got better gas mileage than should be possible. Radios that picked up broadcasts from the past. Drivers who arrived at their destinations hours before they should have, with no memory of the missing time. Betty and William Foster documented their 1952 experience in detail. Driving from Amarillo to Oklahoma City, they entered what they thought was a dust storm near the town of Texola. Inside the storm, the landscape changed. The highway became a dirt road. Their 1950 Buick's engine went silent, but the car kept moving. They saw buildings that shouldn't exist, a town that wasn't on any map. People dressed in clothing from different eras, all walking the streets together. When they emerged from the storm, they were 60 miles from where they'd entered it, with no explanation for how they'd traveled that distance. The Cold War brought renewed government interest. Satellite surveillance revealed that the portal zone doesn't photograph consistently. Images taken seconds apart showed different landscapes. Military satellites detected energy signatures that match no known natural or artificial source. Some photographs show structures that don't exist when investigated on the ground. Others reveal what appear to be vehicles and aircraft from different time periods, all present simultaneously. In 1967, a team from White Sands Missile Range conducted experiments in the portal zone. They detonated small charges to measure seismic activity. The results defied physics. Shock waves arrived at sensors before the explosions occurred. Some sensors recorded impacts from explosions that never happened. Others showed that the bedrock beneath the portal zone isn't solid. It's honeycombed with voids that shouldn't be able to support the weight of the land above. The 1970s brought civilian researchers. Dr. Janet Richardson from the University of Oklahoma led expeditions to study electromagnetic anomalies. Her team discovered that the portal zone has its own magnetic field, separate from Earth's. This field fluctuates in patterns that match no natural phenomenon. It grows stronger during certain astronomical alignments. It responds to human presence in ways that suggest some form of consciousness. Richardson's most significant discovery came in 1974. She found that people who spend extended time in the portal zone undergo physiological changes. Their brainwave patterns alter. They develop sensitivity to electromagnetic fields. Some gain the ability to predict weather changes days in advance. Others report prophetic dreams that prove accurate. These changes persist even after leaving the area. Local rancher Tom Daniels has lived on the edge of the portal zone for 60 years. He's documented hundreds of incidents: cattle that walk into empty fields and disappear, horses that age years in minutes, fence posts that migrate across pastures overnight. He's learned to read the warning signs. When meadowlarks fly backward, something's about to happen. When the ground hums with no apparent source, it's time to move the livestock. When shadows fall toward the light instead of away from it, anyone with sense stays indoors. Daniels tells of a night in 1982 when he watched his barn exist in 2 times simultaneously. Half the structure looked new, freshly painted red with a full hayloft. The other half appeared weathered and abandoned, roof caving in, walls gray with age. He could see both versions clearly, occupying the same space. The phenomenon lasted 4 hours. When it ended, the barn remained in its actual state, somewhere between the two extremes. Modern technology has revealed new mysteries. GPS systems fail consistently in certain areas. Cell phones receive calls from numbers that don't exist. Digital cameras capture images of things invisible to the naked eye. Drone operators report their aircraft being pulled off course by invisible forces. Some drones return with footage of landscapes that don't match any location in Oklahoma or Texas. In 2007, a team from MIT brought quantum sensors to measure subatomic activity. They detected particles that shouldn't exist in nature, quarks with impossible spin states, photons moving backward through time, evidence of parallel dimensions intersecting with ours. Dr. Michael Davis, the team leader, concluded that the portal zone might be a point where multiple realities overlap. The economic impact on the region continues to grow. Property values near the portal zone have collapsed. Tourism, once drawn by curiosity, has dried up after several visitors vanished. Insurance companies refuse to cover properties within the anomaly zone. Some towns are slowly dying as residents flee the expanding strangeness. Yet others are drawn to the portal. They call themselves researchers, seekers, or pilgrims. They come from around the world, convinced the portal holds answers to humanity's biggest questions. Some camp at the boundary for months waiting for revelation. Others walk into the zone and never return. A few come back changed, speaking of experiences beyond human language. Maria Rodriguez disappeared for 3 days in 2012. She entered the portal zone as a skeptical journalist investigating rural legends. She returned as someone different. She described walking through landscapes that existed in multiple states simultaneously. Desert and forest occupying the same space. Winter and summer happening at once. She saw buildings that were both ancient ruins and modern structures. She met people who were alive and dead at the same time. Rodriguez now lives in a small trailer at the portal's edge. She says she's waiting for something, though she can't explain what. She's not alone. Dozens of people have made similar choices. They form a loose community of watchers, convinced that something significant is about to happen. Recent developments support their belief. The portal zone is expanding. Measurements show it's grown by 20% since 2000. The expansion isn't uniform. It pulses like a living thing, reaching out in tendrils that follow no geographical logic. If the current rate continues, the town of Beaver will be inside the anomaly zone within a decade. Dr. Sarah Williams leads the current research effort. Her team from Caltech has proposed that the portal might be a natural phenomenon we don't yet understand. Perhaps it's a weakness in space-time caused by unique geological conditions. Or it might be artificial, created by some intelligence for purposes we can't fathom. The evidence supports both theories equally. Williams has documented correlations between portal activity and cosmic events. Solar flares trigger increased anomalies. Lunar eclipses cause time distortions to intensify. During the 2017 solar eclipse, 17 people reported seeing duplicate versions of themselves within the portal zone. These doubles appeared solid and real, but moved independently, sometimes acknowledging the originals, sometimes ignoring them completely. The military maintains a presence, though they won't discuss it officially. Unmarked vehicles patrol the boundaries. Helicopters fly search patterns that avoid entering the zone itself. Satellite surveillance continues 24 hours a day. Whatever they're watching for, they're taking it seriously. Local law enforcement has developed protocols for portal-related incidents. They don't investigate missing persons cases within the zone. They don't pursue suspects who flee into the anomaly. They've learned that some mysteries are better left alone. Sheriff Robert Martinez admits his department has an unofficial policy. We protect and serve up to the boundary. Beyond that, you're on your own. The stories multiply each year. Truckers report driving through the portal zone and arriving at their destinations before they left. Pilots describe seeing ancient ocean beds where prairie should be. Hikers find artifacts from futures that haven't happened yet. Each account adds another piece to a puzzle that may never be complete. What draws people to risk entering such a place? Perhaps it's human nature to seek the unknown. Perhaps the portal itself calls to certain individuals. Or perhaps, as some researchers suggest, we're all connected to it in ways we don't understand. The portal might not be separate from our reality but fundamental to it. Dr. Williams recently discovered that everyone born within 50 miles of the portal zone shares certain genetic markers. These markers don't exist in the general population. They appear to be mutations, but beneficial ones. Enhanced spatial reasoning, improved temporal perception, resistance to certain electromagnetic frequencies. It's as if proximity to the portal is changing human evolution. Children born near the portal show even stronger traits. They draw pictures of places that don't exist yet. They solve mathematical problems using methods that shouldn't work but do. They sometimes know things before they happen. Teachers report that these children seem to see the world from angles others can't access. The portal remains active as you listen to these words. Somewhere in that vast stretch of prairie, reality continues to bend and break. Time flows in circles and spirals. Space folds in on itself. The impossible becomes possible, then impossible again. Those who live near it have learned to coexist with mystery. They accept that some questions don't have answers, that some boundaries shouldn't be crossed, that our understanding of reality is far more limited than we'd like to believe. Tomorrow will bring new incidents, new disappearances, new evidence that the world is stranger than we imagine. The portal will continue its ancient rhythm, breathing in and out through dimensions we can't perceive. And somewhere along the Oklahoma-Texas border, between the towns of Beaver and Canadian, the hungry ground waits for its next visitor. What do you make of these accounts? Have you experienced a place where reality seems thin or broken? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And if you found these tales from the edge of the possible intriguing, consider subscribing for more journeys into the unexplained corners of our world.